If you're feeling overwhelmed and frustrated and always behind the eight ball, this video is for you. I'm going to share with you 6 time-saving hacks that I live by that help me get more done in less time. And my name is Jordan Duvall, and I am the go-to creative director for personal brands in the transformation space to create a brand that truly reflects their soul from the inside out. So let's get down to time. One thing that I think is super important that I just got kind of reminded about is I was reading a book called Who Not How. And Dan Sullivan talks about how important it is to have people help us do things. And he takes you through these different levels of freedom. And he talks about, if you have time freedom and money freedom and freedom of life and all of these things, that everything ultimately starts with freedom of time. And if you don't have freedom of time, you can't go up the scale and have freedom of anything else, because if you can't control your time, then how can you control anything else? Because ultimately everything boils down to that. So I am a productivity nerd. I've studied from Brendon Burchard and who else? Darren Hardy, Brian Tracy, all the things. I'm always like learning and studying and how can I get more done? I'm like, how can I do it as quickly as possible, as fast as possible? And so that is just like my mission for everything that I do. So I want to share with you some hacks that I use that have been really helpful. And I think the first thing is that I plan my week, and I plan my week in a way where not only am I looking ahead of what's coming up, but I also take stock of what happened last week, what happened the week before that went well, what didn't go well, how could I do something different, how did I feel? So I think it's really important because, as I was saying, is like, in order, like if you're going somewhere, right, you're always typing in. If you're like typing in something in your GPS and you're telling your car, I want to go here, you have to tell your car where you're starting from. And so I think it's really important to take stock of where you're starting from so that you can then plan where you're going to. And so always look back at my week, figure out what was going on there, how can I improve, and make it better next time. And so I go through and I do that exercise. And so having that kind of a self-coaching check-in, I think is really important to being successful. And then once I look ahead at my week and what's coming up, then it really becomes of like, how can I manage my time? And I think that there's different ways that you can plan your schedule. And I think a lot of it depends on who you are as a person, right? Like I'm more of a structured, like those of you that are know Myers-Briggs, I'm a INFJ, right? I'm a J, I'm highly organized, I'm structured. I have a Virgo moon. I'm a high follow through on Colby. Like I love structure and planning, right? I've always loved it. Some people are not. They don't love structure and planning. So it's really figuring out what is your relationship to structure and planning, and figure out how to plan your week. So maybe it's like, I have a section of time where I'm going to do creative things and I'm going to pick from these things, right? Versus like, I'm going to do this exact plan in this time. Ultimately, you really have to figure out what works best for you and set yourself up for success. And so when planning your week, really figuring out like, do you have theme days? Do you have theme time blocks? Like, how do you want to break up your week? And it may be the same every week, and it may vary every week. I would, in theory, love to have it be the same every week, but it never is, because I always have some one-off thing that like changes the rhythm of the day and it changes the rhythm of my week. So I, kind of roll with it each week. But again, you can have theme days. I do try and have some semblance. Like I usually have like big call days on Tuesdays, right? Sometimes big call days on Mondays. It kind of varies and goes through cycles. So you can figure out, do you have that sort of theme? And the other thing too is really being focused. And I think that it's, we're told we can have it all and we can do it all. And you could, or you could just pick what you really want to do and be really good at it and do this one thing and make it amazing. So I think that being able to focus is so important. One, for getting stuff done, but also for your sanity, is to be able to really put your time and energy into this one thing and get it done and then move on and do the next thing. And so when you when you have like high level goals, whether you do it as monthly goals, yearly goals, quarterly goals, whatever it may be, when you have these goals and then you tie your daily actions to the goals, you're always moving your business forward in that progress state. And so having that awareness is really helpful. And breaking down the goals, right? So it's like, if you have this big mega goal, realizing that the big mega goal is probably 20, 30, 40, 50 little action steps. And so breaking down these big goals into these smaller action steps and then plotting them out along whatever the timeline is, the deadline for this thing, and maybe seeing, is there something that I can simplify? Is there something that I can like hire out? Is there something that I can just not do? How can you make this process work better, right? So figuring out how can you focus, how can you streamline, how can you systematize? And I really encourage you to track your time. And again, this goes back to the different personality types. Depending on certain personality types, you may be like, never would I be, never going to happen, right? And I totally get that. However, if you're one of the people that are like allergic to tracking your time, and then there's people that are like, totally, I'm down, let's track my time. The reason why I recommend this is because it's going to give you an awareness of how long something actually takes. And the reason that that is helpful is when you go to plan your week, you can actually have a clearer understanding of how long something is going to take, right? Instead of thinking that this one project is going to take you 2 hours, when you do it and you time yourself and you realize, wow, this project actually took me 12 hours. I thought it was going to take me 2 hours. And the reason that my week got so backed up and I was so stressed out and overwhelmed is because I underestimated how long it was going to take. So when you can go in and have this better understanding of how long something actually takes, you can make better decisions. And then you can also decide, oh, well, if I know this thing is going to take me 12 hours, do I want to do it or do I want to pay someone to do it? And then if I'm going to pay someone to do it and it takes them 3 hours, that's good to know. Or if it takes them 25 hours, that's good to know too. So again, it's giving you data to understand how to make better decisions. And I use a Timeular. And if you want to know more information, just message me. I can send you some details on it. But I love using a Timeular because it's just, I like literally just like, I color coded all the sides and I just turn it around depending on whatever my process is. And then when I sit down and review what happened in my week, it's already like logged where all my time went. So instead of being like, what happened this week? Like, I don't know. I mean, how many of you are like, I don't know what just happened this week. I don't even remember. And then you just are like, it's stuff to happen. But now I actually can track and say, this is how I did. And it also helps with client jobs because you're like, oh, this is how long it actually takes me to do these things. Did I charge on point or did I undercharge? And so again, it's having this data, having this awareness so you can make better, more informed decisions. And that leads me to my last point is batching. And, I'm definitely at fault for multitasking. Sometimes I actually thrive in multitasking. However, doing like tasks at the same time is going to make it so much faster, right? So when I look at what I have to do for the week, I'll block off time for admin time, right? Or making calls or something like that, because it's the same activity. It's like, I can power through these like small things that are going to take me 5 or 10 minutes, kind of tick through them and go through that versus like, I'm going to get involved in a big project and then I have to do this like one nitty gritty thing and then go back to the project. It just breaks my flow. So I batch creative time together and then I batch, like ticky-tack things together. So I think when you start to create these habits around your relationship with time, that's when you can really start to own your time and have a better awareness of what it actually takes to get stuff done, how you get things done that move you towards your goals, how to really get into flow. So share, if you have some secret hack, I would love to know. Share in the comments below. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and share #replay. And also, what was your biggest insight? What did you find really helpful for you for being able to get more control over your time and get more done in less time? So have a wonderful day, and I look forward to reading your comments.